Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest, reacting to the Toronto Raptors 123-116 win against the Milwaukee Bucks. Now this was a massive game for the Toronto Raptors, as obviously the Milwaukee Bucks have overtaken the Raptors as the first seed in the Eastern Conference. The Raptors have been struggling as of late, coming off probably the most disappointing game of the season, in my opinion, with the loss of the San Antonio Spurs. And Kyle Lowry's still out, Jonas still out. It was a needed game for the Raptors to at least play well. You know, the Bucks have been better than the Raptors the past few weeks, and they've been beating us. We're 0-2 against the Bucks before coming into tonight, but tonight it was a tale of two teams for the Toronto Raptors, in my opinion, and we'll break into everything. We got to start off with the starters, because the starters of the Toronto Raptors team completely decimated and picked apart the Milwaukee Bucks. And we got to start with my guy, Kawhi Leonard. You know, he's making his bid for MVP this season, obviously going up against Giannis Antetokounmpo in Milwaukee, who's also making the same case with how the Bucks have been playing. But Kawhi, whenever we need a shot, whenever we need a bucket, he's always there. He's always getting us the shots that we need. He's always making big defensive stands, big defensive plays. Whenever we need a steal as well, because we see a lot of superstars. You know, whenever a true superstar, in my opinion, can get you a bucket when your team needs it. And Kawhi obviously does that for most games, and tonight was no exception. But the thing about Kawhi, which is really special, he'll get you a play on the defensive end when you really need it. And there's lots of cases in this game where he came up with a clutch deflection, a clutch steal, all those sorts of things when the Milwaukee Bucks would be going on a run. And you know, I was just so impressed with how he played. You know, Kawhi Leonard with 30 points tonight, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and 5 steals. Just an all-around performance, 8 of 16 from the field. And the box score is phenomenal, but doesn't even represent how well he played. And he rises to the occasion on a night-to-night basis. You know, whenever there's a game that we need him to break out in, he always does it. And you know, even in the San Antonio game, which was probably the worst game of the year for the Raptors, he still had 21 points, and the Spurs did everything that they could. They were double-teaming him and all those sorts of things to get the ball out of his hands, and no one else produced. But Kawhi, on a night-to-night basis, consistently does it for this team, and I just got to give some appreciation, give some love to my guy Kawhi, because he's just been so impressive in every game, and going up against a guy that he's competing in the MVP race with, it was ridiculous performance that he put on tonight. And you know, before we get into another guy that played very well, I just want to give some credit to the Milwaukee Bucks. They had a very solid game, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, because you know, Kawhi I think had the best performance of the night, but Giannis could be in contention there. He had 43 points and 18 rebounds. Obviously, he's a monster on the stat sheet. Kawhi does things that don't necessarily pop up on the box score, but so does Giannis. Giannis is ridiculous. I don't want to take anything away from his monster performance tonight. 16 of 25 from the field and 3 for 5 from the three-point line. There's a stretch in the fourth quarter where the Bucks were making a run and Giannis hit 2 threes, and it just kind of makes you a bit worried as an NBA fan. Not necessarily a Bucks fan, even though I enjoy the Milwaukee Bucks as a team, but as a Raptors diehard fan, it scares me to think that if Giannis Antetokounmpo can get a 3-point shot, he'd be a ridiculous player. But he doesn't for now, so we'll let him shoot those shots. And maybe he played well tonight from the 3-point line. But Giannis is just an absolute monster. I want to give him some credit. But the Toronto Raptors have a Giannis light running at their power forward position, and Pascal Siakam, he has been absolutely amazing this season. And I've been saying, as the season goes along, every game, since his rookie year, he just improves every day. Every game, he's doing something new. And tonight, he just broke his career high a few nights ago against the Jazz. He broke it once again tonight. 30 points for Pascal, 4 rebounds and 3 assists for him, and he did it on ridiculous efficiency. When Pascal first came to this team, he'd be a runner, a rim runner, be an energy guy, but he wasn't super consistent at finishing around the rim. And, he's expanded his game even further way beyond just finishing around the rim. But that's an area where he just doesn't miss anymore. And those shots that he gets in the paint, it's why he shoots such a high field goal percentage. He went 11 for 15 from the field and had 3 threes as well tonight, 3 for 5 from the three-point line. And similar in the same vein as Giannis, right? If Pascal Siakam is consistently hitting 3-point shots, that's scary for the rest of the league. And I'm just so impressed with how he's been playing. Defensively, he's been doing as well. He had 2 blocks tonight, but if he continues to play at this level, because teams are starting to game plan for him now and he's adjusting, there's lots of cases. And this is a true testament to how improved Pascal Siakam's been, especially with his handle. So whenever he'd have the ball in the post, we seen at the beginning of the year, he kind of caught a lot of teams off guard because he'd get single coverage down the block and on the wing, and people didn't think that he could just dribble by some of the top defenders in the league, and he started doing that. He started doing that at the beginning of the year, and now we saw it tonight, especially so whenever he was on the block, he'd face up, he'd do his little crossover thing that he likes to do, his spins, and Giannis especially. It was Giannis and I believe Brook Lopez would always be running over in the help side to see Siakam, but he just shoot over them. He just makes it look so easy finishing around multiple defenders. He's under control. We saw there's a little stretch where teams started to adjust to Pascal Siakam's inside game, and the help came and he was a bit flustered. But now, especially the past week or so, he's just been so comfortable with that second help defender. He's been making passes out of the paint, and that's one area I think he's going to improve in as well. Because he's starting to finish around the rim with lots of attention paid to him. But the next evolution for Pascal Siakam's game is to be able to make those dishes, and that's what he's been starting to do as well. We saw Kawhi make a cut, and Pascal had a bunch of the whole team was basically looking at Pascal, and he made a beautiful dish to Kawhi cut into the rim. So if he can continue to finish amongst the trees in the paint and facilitate the offense when he's in the low block, he's just going to be ridiculous. I think he should be an all-star this year. I'm hoping it's happening. Me and Riker got a bet, but let us know what you guys think of how Pascal's been playing. He's big balling out here. And Serge Ibaka, this has been his best game since he came back from injury, but 25 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists for Serge tonight, and he has his way against the Milwaukee Bucks. Him and Fred VanVleet running the pick and roll was crucial to the starting lineup having a lot of success. Fred's been getting a lot of hate recently. The ball's been a bit stagnant, more so than when Kyle Lowry plays, but Fred is a phenomenal basketball player. People can't be trashing on Fred VanVleet. He's done it before. He's been playing very well this season. He dribbles the ball a little bit too much at certain games, but never nearly as bad as Corey Joseph. Corey Joseph was notorious for dribbling the air out of the ball, but Fred VanVleet, he facilitates, he can get to the rim, he hits big shots, he's super confident. And just as a fan base, I think we got to put more respect on Fred VanVleet's name. He's been stepping in. He's a backup point guard in this league, and he's stepping in for Kyle Lowry, doing a phenomenal job. Obviously, he's not Kyle Lowry. Maybe he can be one day, but he's not Kyle Lowry just yet. It's his 3rd season in the league, really his 2nd year of actual playing in the NBA, because he really didn't get much run till about 20, 30 games in last season, honestly. So, Fred VanVleet, I've been really happy with how you've been playing. He's been big balling out. I love his confidence. He's hit some big shots, and he's been taking the leadership role, especially with Lowry out. And that's a huge adjustment for a backup point guard to take on, because usually he manages the bench mob, and I've been talking about it all season. The bench mob, when Fred's on it, goes as Fred goes, and now he's doing that with the starting lineup. He's had to adjust his game, and he was very vocal after the Spurs game, after that atrocious game, how the Raptors need to come back with moving the ball, playing a more fluid offense, and he took control and he stepped up in this game, which is super impressive. Shout out to Fred. Gotta give shout outs to there, and I kind of segued into Fred without talking about Serge too much. Serge has been a beast. It's been the case all year. He's had a bit of a poor stretch the past few games, but obviously with Lowry out, and Fred getting adjusted, getting accumulated to setting up and facilitating for the starting unit, he's going to struggle a little bit. And with Jonas out as well, Jonas takes a huge load off Serge Ibaka, having to play less minutes and all those sorts of things. So Serge is playing awesome this season. His new role and with the team is perfect. When Lowry comes back and Jonas is back, he'll be even better. So we'll see more of this on a consistent basis. And I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast how this was like the tale of two teams. And the starting unit was absolutely ridiculous. And including Danny Green, gotta give Danny Green some shout-outs. Hit 2 for 3 from the three-point line. He got ran off the line a couple times and hit some mid-rangers, hit some floaters, those sorts of things. 12 points for him, 9 rebounds. Ridiculous defense from Danny Green, too. He had some very clutch steals. It says he only has 1 steal, but there was a lot of deflections and stops where it was directly correlated to Danny Green's man-to-man defense and help side and all those sorts of things. So that's a championship player right there. We don't have to talk too much about Danny Green because everyone knows how impactful he is for this roster. But yeah, I mentioned it. The starting unit was ridiculous. It was a tale of two teams. The bench was absolutely horrid. From the whole entire bench, we got 5 bench points. 5 points off the bench for the Toronto Raptors tonight. That is ridiculously bad. OG 3 points, Norm 2, Greg Monroe 0, DeLon Wright 0. Bad field goal percentages. They were out there not playing that much defense, and the Milwaukee Bucks, the only reason this game was close, was because of how horrid the bench was playing. I don't want to take anything away from the Bucks. They played well, but they took advantage of the poor bench play. But it was almost baffling to see how poorly they played. Greg Monroe was in there for a stretch, and a lot of people really like Greg Monroe, and they think he should be the backup center, and we should move Jonas for some value. But looking at him, he is horrid on defense. He's talented on offense in most games, but he is horrid on defense. And that lineup that they were running at the end of in the first half with the bench, it was just not a good look. It was not a good look. The Bucks took a major advantage of that lineup, and Greg Monroe just really struggles on the defensive end. So it's going to be tough to play Greg Monroe. He's a serviceable third big man, but in today's NBA, he's just really not there defensively. He can't do it on the defensive end. And DeLon Wright. I've mentioned on multiple podcasts now how disappointed I've been in DeLon Wright this season. And I genuinely want to hear about how you guys think he's been playing because, I've mentioned it on a few pods, but no one's talking about him. No one has been talking about DeLon Wright and how poor he's been. He's definitely regressed from last season. He's a bit better on the three-point shooting, in my opinion, but he's making less of an impact. Last year when he came in, especially on the defensive end, he'd be getting deflections. He'd be doing all sorts of things to impact the game, whether it was in the box score or not. He'd get to the rim. He'd finish around the rim really well. He'd facilitate. He'd be able to pass. And there's a point last season where people were saying if he got the three-point shot, he was a legitimate starter in the NBA. And he's developed his three-point shot, but the rest of his game, where his calling card on the defensive end and being a facilitator and having an impact with his length and athleticism at the point guard position, those things have really regressed this season, in my opinion. I want to know what people think of him, because no one has been talking about him in Raptors media, and for all the hate that CJ gets and Norm gets occasionally, Norm has been pretty good recently, but all those sorts of guys. OG has just been trashed by Toronto Raptors fans currently. People have wanted to trade him for pennies on the dollar. And I think that's very overreactionary considering OG's age and all the excuses we can make. He needs to be better. I'm not saying he's been good by any means, but he needs to be better. But we can't be just throwing him under the bus like that. But no one has done this with DeLon Wright. I'm not an advocate. People know that listen to this podcast know I'm very positive in terms of the Toronto Raptors, but no one has been talking or even, bringing up DeLon. So I want to know what you guys think of DeLon Wright. And Norm had his worst game since coming back from injury tonight. He looked like Norm at the beginning of the year, Norm of last season, a bit out of control, a bit hectic at times. Hopefully this game is not a sign of what's to come from Norman Powell. And, OG, I mentioned it. He's been getting flamed by Raptors fans, and deservedly so. He had 3 points tonight, sorry. He needs to be better. We need OG to really step it up soon. I did make a prediction about a month ago. I thought that OG around mid-February, we'd really start seeing the best out of OG Anunoby, especially with everything that's happened in the sophomore slump and all those sorts of things. So I'm holding back my worriedness, my stress about OG's play until February, because that's the arbitrary deadline that I gave him. It was just a look, because he's looked uncomfortable, he's looked out of sorts at times. So if he's still playing like this a month from now, then I'll be more scared and thinking that he should be out of the lineup. Maybe we should make a move. But with OG's youth, he's the youngest guy on this team, and with the Raptors roster over the past 5 years, we've really only had older guys in our rotation. Obviously we've had DeMar, Lowry, Serge, Jonas, the main guys, but the role players, even our role guys, they've all been older guys. Luis Scola, James Johnson, Corey Joseph, Damari Carroll. I'm not saying these guys were necessarily great. Bismack Biyombo, right? They were all older players. They've had a few years under their belt, and even last year with the bench mob, and they were touted as being a very young group, right? Fred VanVleet is 24 years old. Pascal Siakam was 24 years old last season, and OG Anunoby's 21. OG is a young player in this league, and there's going to be ups and downs with him. But with the potential that he's shown, to be capable of doing some of the things that he's done in this league, be a lockdown defender, start at the small forward position on a 60-win team, being a consistent 3-and-D guy for a full year. But I don't mind the dialogue on how poorly he's been playing and how he can improve. But let's stop the complete hate. I know there's Bradley Beal trade rumors, and yes, I'd move OG in a move to get Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal is an amazing all-star established player in this league who's still young, right? I'm not saying that we should, but let's stop saying that OG is just trash. That's something that frustrates me as a Raptors fan. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think that he's absolute garbage? Like, genuinely. am I just a Raptors homer by thinking that he could still be a really good NBA player at some point, or should we just give up on him? Let me know in the comment section below. Anyways, we're 15 minutes in, we haven't got to the segment, so let's go straight into the cool why you doing like that play of the day. And tonight, it's not going to Kawhi, it's going to Serge Ibaka. Giannis Antetokounmpo is one of the best players in the NBA. Goes to the rim. He's leading the league in field goal percentage inside the paint. And when he gets ahead of steam, he's almost unstoppable. And he got ahead of steam tonight, going down the court. Serge Ibaka was behind him. Pascal kind of did the Roy Hibbert jump up with verticality. And Giannis with his long arms came out and had a very cool finish sort of thing. And Serge Ibaka was having none of it. He blocked that shot. Giannis went flying to the ground. Everyone in the Bucks arena thought it was a foul, but you look at the replay, it was the cleanest block you can see despite the awkward positioning. And then Serge comes back down and bangs a three. I'm not a huge fan of Serge shooting threes, but when he hits them, I'm celebrating. So that was definitely the Kawhi you do him like that play of the day for me. And not all plays can be the Kawhi you do him like that play of the day, and some just make you say, oh, geez. And tonight, the OG's play of the day. It's involving Giannis once again. I forget who threw the lob. I think it was George Hill, maybe Malcolm Brogdon. I'd have to look back at it, but all I remember was Giannis was throwing a lob, and it looked like the ball was thrown above the backboard. It was just a horrible pass. It was super high, but Giannis is like Inspector Gadget out there. He's like Mr. Fantastic in the Fantastic Four with those flexible arms. He reached it up and he somehow caught it and he dunked it, but the ball went kind of all over the rim before it went in. It was a wild play. It made me say, oh geez. I was super confused out of how physically he was able to get that ball. But Giannis is a freak of nature. He's a freak of nature. It's why they call him the Greek Freak. Honestly, just saying that's kind of weird. Like, imagine being called like a freak. You're a freak. That's your nickname. I guess he hasn't spoke out against it, but I hope he doesn't feel bad like that his nickname is the Freak. And he seems like a really nice guy in interviews and all those sorts of things. Seems like a very laid back superstar. I'd enjoy him to come to the Raptors one day, but yeah, I cheer for Giannis. Despite the Bucks being good and all those sorts of things, it's hard not to be a fan of Giannis, especially when he does like plays like that. So, and finally, we gotta bring into the Damari Carroll Gold Star Award, and it's going to the Raptors bench. It's going to the Raptors bench. I already talked about that. So in order to switch it up, everyone knows that they deserve the award, so they're getting it. But we got a second Damari Carroll Gold Star Award, and it's going out to this guy. I don't know if anyone else saw it. I didn't see any clips on Twitter of it, but I haven't really scoped it out. But there's a guy that the ball went out of bounds after a play. There was a foul or something, and one of the guys in the front row really wanted to get the ball. He wanted to get the game ball to hand back to the referee. And he stood right up and he ran out to it. And he tripped over our camera guy. I saw him fall. It was kind of ridiculous. Let me know if anyone else saw that. Or if I'm just tripping. My eyes were deceiving me. But yeah, that guy's getting the Damari Carroll Gold Star Award. He's tripping over camera people. You get the front row seats. Maybe it should have been an OG's. A bit of both. He gets both awards. Regardless, the Toronto Raptors won this game. It was an awesome team win. We got the Pacers coming up tomorrow night on a back-to-back. Hopefully Kawhi Leonard plays, especially with the struggles of the rest of the team outside of the starting unit. So let's hope he plays. Be a big game against the Pacers tomorrow. The Pacers have been super hot. And this is a very impressive win against the Bucks. As I mentioned, they've taken the first seed. They have a higher winning percentage than us right now. So got to keep winning. We want that home court advantage, especially throughout the playoffs. So we want those W's. I know the regular season doesn't matter. We're going to be judged in the playoffs. The regular season matters, but we're going to be judged on how we do in the playoffs, and home court only helps. And a final little talking point, Chris Boucher did not get any run. Nicholas Nurse. I don't think you've ever been called Nicholas by a media person, but if I even count as a media person, but Nicholas Nurse, you need to play Chris Boucher. We've been doing some weird stuff. The offense looked nicer tonight, so shout out to Nick or Fred, whoever spearheaded that offensive turnaround. The offense was looking great at the beginning of the season and slowly reverted back to isolations and no movement and those sorts of things. So, Nick, you got to be out here running an offense that's proper on a consistent night-to-night basis. We saw it tonight. We see how valuable it is. Maybe a product of it is Kyle Lowry being out and Fred getting used to his role as the main guy. But it's still on the head coach to make sure your point guard knows what to do and call timeouts to block momentum. You did a better job at that tonight. And play Chris Boucher when we're playing against a team with a bunch of long, lanky folk. That's prime time. That's where Chris Boucher will thrive. You know, playing him against LaMarcus Aldridge probably isn't the key, a big guy that will bully him down the paint, but at least give him a go. At least give him a shot because he earns the minutes every time he's out there. Every time he's in garbage time, he plays phenomenal. Every time he gets a little stretch in actual NBA minutes, he plays really well, regardless of even if it's the right matchup for him. Tonight would have been a perfect matchup for Chris Boucher, and we didn't play him. I want to see some Chris Boucher. I guess we won this game, but especially with how the bench is struggling, you got to give him a shot. You have to, regardless. The Toronto Raptors won this game. Happy, big win. You guys are the best for making it this far. Check out the Twitter, the Instagram, all that cool stuff. It's back up and running. The Twitter is back. You know, we got a solid team on that now, so really check that out. It's been really cool. And the Instagram, as it's been for most of the season, it's been popping. So we really appreciate you guys following us on that. And we have the ball rolling on a lot of cool new stuff, some animations, some things we might not want to spoil right now, but definitely stay tuned to the Raptors Digest. A lot of fun stuff coming up. So I'm signing out. Cheers.